What is up, my friends? It is Sunday night. It is the late night agenda, and I hope that you all have had a wonderful weekend. And thank you for giving up a little bit of your time to come and have a chat with me. Right, Jay's Mighty Red Army. Thank you, bro, for gifting a membership. I noticed that one just before we got started. So, yes, loads for us to get through today. We're expecting transfer business, not just for Liverpool, but right across the board to really ramp up from tomorrow onwards, as of course we look towards the reset of the PSR, which does take place from the 1st of July. We're into a new cycle, so we're expecting, well, not just us, the football world is expecting the transfer market to really catch fire in July, as clubs have a lot more wiggle room than perhaps they had, which was allowing Liverpool to sneak in there and get some nice early deals done. Tonight we're going to be speaking about the futures of Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz, Ibrahima Konate. We're going to be talking about Chelsea signing Joao Pedro and what that may mean, if anything, for Liverpool's pursuit of Alexander Isak. We're going to take you through some other news and bits and pieces around some growing confidence from, believe it or not, the Palace side, that Crystal Palace may indeed end up selling Marc to Liverpool. That and lots more to come over the next however long we're on. Niall Jordan, how are we, bro? Nice to see you. Dave Sharple's always lovely to see you with. The good Kev, Matt Denny. Who else we got? Scott Engerson, how are we all? Alex, nice to see you as well, my friend. So look, where do we start tonight then, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let's start with a poll that I currently have running in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp group, where we asked, how many more signings do you think Liverpool need in this summer's transfer window? 1, 2, 3, or none? So I'm going to start off with that tonight, and then I want you guys to elaborate in the comments on what you think those positions are that you need filled. So let me just get the first poll going. I like to get a nice early poll in. Right, let's go. So, how many more signings do LFC need this summer? Now, I know that some of these could be, we might need 2, Craig, but if we lose another one, we might need 3 or 4. I get it. But just roughly, how many more do you think we need? So let's start with 1, 2, 3 or more, or none. Right, so how many more signings do Liverpool need this summer, in your opinion? 1, 2, 3 or more, or none? And I will keep an eye on that to see what way it's going, and if we get a similar vote process to the one that we got on the WhatsApp channel. Right, let's keep going. Cool. Yes, my ears have finally cleared, by the way. I've had this really weird situation with my ears for the last few days where I couldn't really hear it, my right ear, and the pressure was changing in it. It was freaking me out a little bit. So I'm glad that that's sort of back to normal today. Right, 3 if we don't re-sign Konate, said Cole Chillin. Dave, where's Dave Sharp? Where's Dave's one gone? I'm sure I've seen Dave. Yeah, 2. Dave said 3, we need 2 centre-backs and a striker. Toes reckons a centre-back and a striker. Mahedi said centre-back, striker, and a backup for Gravenberch. So for me, I think as we sit here right now, we need a striker and we need a centre-back. Now, of course, some sales may change some of those situations as well. And also, it may depend on what type of forwards are available to us as well. So I think 2 to 3 would kind of be where I'm at. 2 would be bare minimum that I think we need. Obviously, we need to replace Jarell Kwanzaa, and it looks like that could be Marc. Totally understand where a lot of you guys are coming from as well with the Konate situation. We have to wait and see what happens there. And I've been trying to gauge with people what they think about the Konate contract situation. They expect him to extend, and I really don't know where I'm at with it. I haven't really given it too much thought because I'm not really going to lose any sleep over it either way, but it would be nice to get it resolved, wouldn't it? One way or the other, at least knowing what's happening. Jaffa Jake said, if we get Guehi and don't lose any big names, then I'm happy. Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. You know, the forward line I'm kind of relaxed about, but I would like a centre forward to be brought in all honesty. But of all the positions we needed this summer, it's kind of further down the pecking order for me because of the options that we have. But that being said, if we do sell Darwin Nunez, would be nice to bring in a centre forward. But there's not really many out there that are catching my eye at the minute. Obviously, we know Chelsea, in case you didn't know, tonight agreed a fee with Brighton to sign Joao Pedro, £50 million upwards, and they believe that they can get him signed up quick enough to take part in the Club World Cup. So what does that mean then for Newcastle? Because they also had an offer in for Joao Pedro, and it seems like the player himself was the one that ruled out the opportunity of going to Newcastle. So were they looking to maybe just beef up their own attacking options, or were they perhaps preparing the groundwork for Liverpool's Isak approach? I think it's probably the former, if I'm being honest with you. But I don't know what it means for Liverpool. Arsenal also now apparently in the mix for Ekitike, but is that just a smokescreen or a distraction? Will they try to get Leipzig down on the price for Benjamin Šeško? Right, Schmungus, how are we, dude? Said, I can't see Isak moving to any club apart from us. He knows he can perform in the Prem. Why not join the champions, especially when we have class people? Look, I agree, but I just can't get away from the price tag, Schmungus, mate. I can't. I just cannot get away from the idea of paying that much money. I just don't think there's value in it. But, like I've said, if the club want him and get him, I'll be on here celebrating and happy about it. But I wouldn't say it's going to be a value deal if we get it done. Like some people thinking we probably went a bit too far for Wirtz. I'm not in that camp for what it's worth. I think he'll be worth every penny of that money over the course of his time at Liverpool. But I don't know. There's something about the £150 million price tag, Schmungus, mate, that just doesn't make me think it's worth the move for Isak. I just don't see him being worth that money. But then again, we would be a better team with him in it than without him in it. So, there is that side to it as well. Darwin is a better striker than Ekitike, said Raydon. Well, mate, then Ekitike must be absolutely horrendous. Because Darwin is frustrating, is the kind word I'd use. And I haven't seen enough of Ekitike to know if you're right or wrong. But I know Darwin Nunez ain't good enough. And he's had plenty of time now to settle in at Liverpool. He's had 2 different coaches. It just isn't going to work out from here. So, yeah. But also, that move to Napoli looks like it could be in doubt over the valuation that Liverpool have on him versus what Napoli are willing to pay. Keith said we need a centre-back, a striker, and a backup DM to help Gravenberch. I'm just not sure what to expect with the DM situation, though, because we know that we have Stefan. We know that Endo's most likely sticking about. And we also know, according to a lot of the journalists, that the manager really does rate James McConnell. So I think we may already have that potential backup inside the squad. So I don't know what to expect, Keith, with regards to defensive midfielder coming in. I mean, the greedy part of me would like one, but I do also not want to block the pathway through because I kind of rate James McConnell as well. So it's a tough one. I certainly understand anybody who said, look, we could do with some backup for Ryan Gravenberch because let's be honest, last season we were a little bit fortunate that Ryan didn't pick up injuries, so I get where you're coming from. I'm just not sure what to expect in that regard. Lewis Wildig. Hey Craig, do you know if Tsimikas or Robbo will be going? Well, it doesn't look like Robbo will be going to Atleti anyway, Lewis, because they've agreed that deal to sign the kid from Atlanta. So it doesn't look like that move is on. I do expect one of them to leave. If I could pick myself, I would pick Costas to leave and Robbo to stay because it gives us that nice balance of the experience and the youthfulness of Milos Kerkez. I also think we could bring in more money for Costas, so that's what I would do. If I was in Arna's shoes, I'd be looking to keep Andy Robertson and move on Costas. And then let's see what Robbo does. He's got 1 year left on his Liverpool deal, so feel like he'd almost be playing to prove a point and maybe try to win a new contract. Detroit Copbite, no comment in, bro, but thank you. Really do appreciate your support. I don't know if YouTube did you dirty there and you just didn't get a chance to put your comment in, but either way, thank you, my friend. Much love to you over in Detroit. Craig, is Darwin worth 70 million? No, he isn't. He isn't. Not to me. I think when I heard about the 50 million euro number, that was one I thought Liverpool may have a chance of getting. But is Darwin Nunez worth £70 million? No, unless there's an offer coming from Saudi. That's the only way I think Liverpool get anywhere near 70 million quid. But if Darwin has his heart set on a move to Naples, then, it's up to the two clubs to try and come to an agreement that works for both parties there. But if the valuation gap is really 40 million to 70 million, I can't see that getting bridged. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I think there's always two prices, isn't there? There's the Saudi price which is probably a bit inflated. And then there's the European team price. And let's be honest, there aren't too many people kicking down our door to throw 70 million quid down for Darwin Nunez. So I just hope we can get a deal done for his sake as well as the rest of us. Colton said, how much is Curtis Jones worth? I think that's the first time maybe I've been asked that question. I've never really sat down and thought about it. Certainly his valuation's gone up, in my opinion, after the season he had. I think it was his best season in a Liverpool shirt. 40 to 45 million, maybe, somewhere around that. Homegrown, so that has to count for something. Still young as well. Pretty good experience now. I would say somewhere in the 40 to 45 million pound bracket, but again, just complete guesswork. It's hard to know what anybody's worth in this window because honestly, some of the prices and valuations of players are ridiculous. Matthew, Johnny, how are we doing? Good evening, Craig. In my opinion, we need a centre-back, a centre-forward and a right winger, assuming Konate stays and Nunez and Chiesa leave. Also, who would be your pick at centre-forward besides Isak Alvarez? Sesko, probably. I think there's risks involved with everybody who we're going to list. Ekitike, risks. Gyökeres, risks. Sesko, risks. So, probably Sesko. But then again, I've always said, I also don't think it's the best market to try and bring in a centre-forward at the minute. And I was a little bit curious as to why we didn't perhaps have a little look at John Duran coming towards Liverpool on loan for a season. As we know, he's looking like that move to Turkey is closing in because he can't settle over in Saudi. So, yeah, outside of the two names you've mentioned, Isak and Alvarez, the rest I just think are somewhat of a roll of the dice. Oh, I wanted to give you guys a bit of good news, actually. So, I've been sitting back all summer so far thinking about content for next season, thinking about what I want to do without overstretching myself. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a once a week Anfield Agenda podcast with myself, Chris Stonage and Steve Bland. It's going to be out on podcast platforms. It's going to be on YouTube. And we're going to record it once a week, myself, Chris and Steve. And it will be going up on Spotify, all the usual places. But yeah, that is going to be coming before the season starts. Just going to limit it to once a week so none of us are overstretched and we can make sure that we can commit to it. But spoke to the two lads about it. They're up for it, so I'm up for giving it a go as well. And they'll also be joining us on stage for the live show in Liverpool. And Jack will be there as well for that one. Right, let's get going. This one. Keith said, do you think we will get Marc Guehi? Yes, I do. And actually, on that, there was something that the Palace outfit, said Liverpool have now passed a significant milestone in their endeavour to sign Marc Guehi this summer, assuring him game time ahead of a World Cup. The Palace Way understands that Guehi is now keen on a move to Liverpool. And look, the second part, not really breaking news. We've known that Marc Guehi is interested in the move to Liverpool. But the problem seemingly is going to be if they can get to a valuation. Because this is where we're all hypocrites. And this is where I'm definitely a massive hypocrite. Because I want Liverpool to sell Konate for as much as possible. But obviously, I'm going to sit around here and say, with Guehi having 1 year on his contract, I'd want Liverpool to go in and get him as cheaply as possible. So I think Liverpool and Palace need to get to the realms of realism on both sides. And I agree with the 40 million valuation that a lot of people have been talking about. Palace maybe want 50, Liverpool probably want to come in way below that. But I think if you can get to an agreement, 35, 40 million pound for Marc Guehi, that would be great business over the course of time. So I think it may depend on these early negotiations, Keith, whether that deal will be done or not. But I'd certainly say it's absolutely doable. It just depends on whether Liverpool want to spend that money on Marc Guehi or whether they want to go in for Joel Haddo and maybe look to the future. It's not like Marc Guehi's an old centre-back, but there are options there. But if you gave me 50 quid right now, I'd say yes. I would say we have a fair chance to sign Marc Guehi. Is there any more news on Malik Fofana? Just that the price tag has been set, really. Price tag looking at about 45 to 50 million euro, so about 38 to 42 million pound. That's it. You know, as I've said, I expect things to kind of simmer down now, but really get going in the next day or two. So let's say from tomorrow onwards, I think you're going to see the transfer market ramp up, because from Tuesday, the 1st of July, the PSR cycle resets and clubs have a new cycle, so a bit more headroom. So I do think you're going to see lots of domino effect transfers over the next week, and even industry insiders believe that it's really going to ramp up now with the new PSR cycle starting on the 1st of July. Craig, would you prefer Osimhen or Ekitike? I think I'd probably lean to Osimhen, because I'd think there'll be a deal to be done, and value-wise it would just feel a bit better. So if you could do a deal with Napoli taking Darwin and us taking Osimhen, whatever the money side of it is, I don't know, but it just feels like that would be a bit less of a difficult pill to swallow. The idea of giving Eintracht Frankfurt 100 million euro or 85 million pound for Hugo Ekitike just feels madness. It just does. But then again, giving 150 million to Newcastle for Isak seems madness. So I probably just about go with Osimhen, because, as I said, I can see at least the rhyme or reason to that. If Napoli want our player, we want theirs. I don't know. But truth is, mate, I haven't got a clue who the striker is going to be if we sign one. Stephen Shenton said, I want more than 40 million for Elliott. It's funny, you would have given him away for 25 million a few weeks ago. It is mad, honestly. The amount of people who've been like, Liverpool shouldn't sell Elliott now. It's crazy, the revisionism. And look, we've always known Elliott had the potential to be a good player. But I don't know, I think 40 million pound would be a very good piece of business for Liverpool if they get that for Harvey Elliott. But again, I think you're going to see that ramp up soon. It's believed Jarell Kwanzaa will be over in Leverkusen tomorrow to start the process of his medical, at least according to Florian Plettenberg. And then it really is, I'm more intrigued to see where Elliott goes than the money, if that makes sense. It's going to be interesting for me to see which option he decides is the best. So we know Fulham have been interested, Newcastle have been interested, Brighton have been interested, West Ham have been interested, Villa have been interested, Leverkusen, Leipzig. I'm sure Elliott's going to have plenty of options. So maybe if those options start to bid the process up, yeah, maybe you do get a bit more from. But either way, I'm just intrigued just to see where he thinks the best avenue for his development would be. This one from Darren. Craig, do you think Isak for Nunez and Elliott swap? There's not a chance in hell that Newcastle would do that unless there's at least 35, 40 million pound on top of that. And also, to be fair, if you were Newcastle, would you want Darwin right now? I wouldn't be trying to ease the loss of Isak by bringing in Darwin. I think that'd be a hard sell to their fan base, to be honest with you. Krister Hansen said, I would pay 100 to 150 million pound for Isak. Lots of money, yes, but worth it if we go back to back Premier League plus potentially Champions League. But they're just hypotheticals. In all honesty, mate, that's like saying it's worth keeping Konate around if we win the Champions League and the Premier League. But what if we don't? And in this scenario, what if we don't as well? Now, I'm not saying he's not a great player, Krister. He is. 100 million I'd feel way more comfortable at. Even up to 120, allowing for the market that it is. But the 150 stuff, bro, just feels crazy. But then again, like you said, we will be a better team with him in it. So, and thank you for the kind words as well, mate. Really appreciate that. If Palace want 45, 50 max, get it done quickly and sell Konate for 30. But it's a similar situation. So why would we sell Konate for 20 million quid less than Marc Guehi? Now, both of them have plus points. Marc Guehi, obviously homegrown, so that helps. But if you look at the other side of it, Konate is more experienced, played Champions League. So I think I would like to see probably a similar price tag for both players. If we paid 40 million for Marc Guehi, then I'd like to see Liverpool kind of recoup similar to that if we were to sell Konate. But either way, for me now, if the Konate situation's uncertain I would just like to see us go about the replacement now, one way or the other, because it's always easier doing these things when you're not desperate. And if we know, let's say Konate is running down his contract, teams are going to know we're coming for a centre-back next year and the price is going to go up on it. So I'd like to see us just replace Konate now if he's not going to sign a new deal, and then let him worry about his game time after that. I know it sounds selfish, but I think we have to make a statement in this window. And by the way, on the FSG, I've been watching a lot of the comments and people saying, well, you're a hypocrite. One day you're saying this about FSG, the next day you're saying that. Do people not understand that opinions on everything are fluid? And just because I say one thing positive about them doesn't mean I'm not sitting here expecting more of this window, because I am. Doesn't mean if we end up with this window not getting a centre-back or a centre-forward that I'm not going to be on here raging about it, because I will. But I just want to be fair. You know, I want to give people credit for the good stuff they do, and I'll call them out for the stuff that I think they haven't done correctly. I'd be an asshole if I was sitting here now not happy with the start of this window we've had. Be madness. One of the lads coming back from holidays a week from tomorrow, I believe. It's either a week from tomorrow or a week from Tuesday, but either way, second week of July is when the boys will be starting to come back for pre-season. Those that never change their mind never change anything. Exactly. Like, opinions are fluid. Same as anything else. Like, it's like saying if I didn't like a football player when they first came to Liverpool and they got much better, but I didn't recognise that, I didn't give that credit. That's having an agenda. And I've always said, despite the channel name, I don't have agendas against anybody. But I also refuse not to call out stuff that I think is blatantly wrong when it's wrong. So I'll just keep giving my opinions, and I guess people can have theirs and call me what they want. But ultimately, I always find it weird that people who claim to hate me are always in the comments. It's weird. Craig, will Bradley or Frimpong start the first game of the season? We ran this poll, Colton, in our WhatsApp group the other day, and the group seemed to think it will be Frimpong. I really don't know. Genuinely haven't got a clue which one I expect to start, because you can look at it and think, right, Frimpong has more experience in Europe, but Bradley is used to the Liverpool system in the Premier League. So it might come down to how Arne utilises Frimpong in pre-season and who impresses the most. I think at this moment in time, the battle's still open. I don't think anybody is nailed on to start at right back at this point. I think both of them have the chance to prove to the manager that they should be the name on the team sheet for the first game. Ignore the haters, Craig. Don't change. I'm never going to, Sean, but thank you for the really kind words, bro. It's just weird. I just don't get it. Like I've always said, maybe I'm too simplistic with this, but if you don't like something, steer clear of it. That's the way I look at it. I'd happily take 40 million for Darwin at this point. He needs the move for his own sake. So would I. My big fear, Nomad, is that we're sitting here mid-August and talking about a potential loan for Darwin Nunez because we can't sell him. So for me, I'm never going to second guess Edwards and Hughes, because, you know, they've pulled off great deals, and we know Edwards has form for being able to get good money for Liverpool players, but I would dare say this is a difficult situation. And if a player has his mind made up on Napoli, then I guess Napoli need to up their end of the bargain here as well. They're talking about a plan B now. Fair enough, but we know the plan A is supposed to be Darwin, so let's wait and see what they come to with regards to money. I think 40, 45 million pound would be realistic. Certainly if it was the other way around and Liverpool were being asked to pay 70 million quid, I wouldn't be happy about it. So yeah, I think 40, 45 million is probably about right. Any idea where to try get a 1955 Liverpool home top? No, not really. Not that far back. Yeah, sorry, Adam. Leave it with me. I'll have a think on it and a little research for you, but not off the top of my head, mate. Joshua Hookaway said, "Hey Craig, love what you do. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and I do hope we get a striker this summer. Go for title 21 and European Cup number 7. Absolutely, Joshua. I'm I don't know, mate, if I've ever been as full of excitement for a new season as I am right now. I cannot wait. Even for pre-season, I can't wait. Oh, it looks like, by the way, the AC Milan game is a 12:30 kickoff over in Hong Kong. So it looks like I'll be able to do the watch along of that one. I thought initially it was down at about 10 o'clock, 10:30. But if it's 12:30, we'll be doing the watch along of that one as well. Right, let's check in the poll. So we asked, and we've already had over 2,000 votes, so thank you to everyone that's in. How many more signings do Liverpool need this summer? 1, 2, 3 or more, or none? Yeah. So there we go. Let's call it, because we've had 2,000 votes. 50% of people think 3 or more. And I kind of understand that. I do. I'd probably be somewhere between 2 and 3. So 3 or more I totally get. And again, thank you to everyone that voted. 50% for 3 or more, 45% for 2, and then the other 2 are basically non-runners. So thank you to everyone on that. Right, so let's talk Ekitike for a minute, because I can see a couple of people in the chat saying they've just come in, and welcome in, by the way, if you have. Do me a quick favour, let's get that like up really quickly, so we don't have to have a big scramble at the end of the stream, but if you can, hit that like button for me. Right, so, Build have said, Hugo Ekitike is now being seriously considered as part of Arsenal's transfer plans. And again, I don't know if this is genuine or if this is Arsenal playing a bit of brinksmanship with RB Leipzig. Because if you ask me, I think Šeško is their number one target. I've known of Arsenal interest in him for 18 months minimum. And they've had a long negotiation process with RB Leipzig so far. And I just think that's the one that they want. But then again, I don't know if Liverpool want Ekitike either, because we haven't seemingly been rushing into a decision here, seeing Chelsea being linked with him. Surely Chelsea's interest in him is over now. They've just agreed that deal to sign Joao Pedro, and they've brought in Liam Delap as well. So there's that interest from Arsenal. But again, I don't know if Liverpool are really interested in signing him or not. Patrick said, what's your opinion on the goalkeeper situation for next season? Don't forget, I love you, Craig. Well, thank you. Arteta would wish he had as good look as good as you. Well, thank you, Patrick. My opinion is that it's a very good collection of goalkeepers. The only unknown is we don't know what to expect from Georgie, because we haven't seen him yet. From watching him play for Valencia and for Georgia, very good shot stopper, but I would ask and have questions about the distribution. So yeah, it's good. Love the young goalkeeper Peche we brought in. The more I've looked at him, the more I think he's a real bright one for the future. And then the new goalkeeper that we brought in, Woodman, I think is just make up the numbers type goalkeeper, and again, won't take an overseas squad place. So I think, yeah, good. And I'm happy as well for Queeveen that he gets his move to Brentford. He'll have an Irish head coach there as well, Keith Andrews. So interested to see how he gets on. What is Harvey worth after the under-21 Euros, said Ed Varco. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a weird answer, Ed, but I think he's still worth the same 40-odd million, but I think it's far more likely that we'll get it now, if that makes sense. I'd always known of the £40 million valuation, but I'd always felt like before the Euros, maybe that was a little bit optimistic. Now, player of the tournament, and by the way, congratulations to England under-21s, and to Tyler Morton, to Jarell Kwanzaa and Harvey Elliott for back-to-back championship wins. Absolutely well done to them. Obviously well done to the coach as well. But just want to single out those three lads, obviously, as Liverpool players, and congratulate them on their win. Yeah, I think 40 is now the minimum, I would say. But with the interest that's there for him, you never know. If a genuine bidding war starts, who knows? But then again, maybe Harvey has a club in mind that he really likes the plans of or the idea of. So, yeah, I don't know. Either way, but I expect us to get that 40 million. Keith said, I'm hoping we can get this Marc Guehi sorted before preseason starts in 10 or 12 days' time. It would help him settle in with the team and slot system. Yeah, I kind of feel, Keith, that this is maybe the last of the really urgent signings. You know, I think the striker situation we need resolved, but I think it can go a little bit longer if needs be. But like you've said, if you're talking about a new centre-back partnership, ideally I would love to have Marc or Joao Pedro or whoever it is in before preseason starts or as soon into preseason as possible. So I think it's going to be a big week. I think we'll find out by the end of next week what the likelihood is of the move for Marc. And for what it's worth, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it, unless Liverpool come in with an incredibly low ball offer. Craig, are we signing Guehi or Haddo, or are we going for both? So the vibe at the minute is Guehi is the one that we're immediately interested in. But Haddo is the one that we probably would have moved for had we had more certainty about Konate. Does that make any sense? So Liverpool don't know what's happening with Konate, so going for that experience of Marc Guehi makes sense. But if we knew Konate was staying around, I wonder would the preference then have been a Joao Pedro. So we've got Joe Gomez, we've got Virgil, and we're going to sell Jarell Quansah to Leverkusen. So then we have an uncertain Konate situation. I think Liverpool have to look at somebody like Marc Guehi. If Konate leaves this summer, could very well have both. Stevie boy, how are we, dude? Nunez had one good game against Liverpool. Did Liverpool overpay? Look, hindsight suggests we overpaid, but I would be a liar if I said I wasn't really excited when we signed Darwin Nunez. And yeah, he did have that really good game against us, like you've said, Stevie boy, but I also feel it was a signing that I don't think Michael Edwards would have made. I've kind of always had that mindset. I don't think he would have believed that there was a big enough sample size of Darwin Nunez' success to justify committing as much as we were willing to commit. So it's easy being a Monday morning quarterback, but yeah, we overpaid. But I can totally understand the roll of the dice and the risk, because even sitting here now, I'll say to you, he has every tool at his disposal to be a great centre forward. He just isn't, for whatever reason. Ryan, thank you, Ryan, said, get a centre-back, centre-forward, and we're good. Lot of options to back up Gravenberch. Always want FSG to spend, but I've been hurt by FSG before. Cautiously optimistic. So, yeah, look, FSG haven't completely won me over yet. There's still a lot of this transfer window to go. But they've certainly done the right thing at the start of it. But like you've said, I agree 100%, Ryan. We need to see the project through now. We need to get the centre-back. We need to sort out the forward position. And then we need to move on some players as well. So, great start, but like yourself, I'm cautiously optimistic. Chelsea had a here we go for both Gittins and Joao Pedro. How are they allowed to do so much business and doesn't have problems with PSR? Vaughn, it is a question, my friend, that if I knew the answer to, I'd be a happier man, because I feel the same way as you, dude. I'm looking at it going, how have they spent, what is it now, approaching 1.4 billion over the past few years? And I know they've brought back in a good chunk of money as well. But in my whole adult life watching the Premier League, it's felt like there's a different rule for Chelsea and everybody else. Under Abramovich, they were losing, I think, like 900 grand a week for 17 years. And when they sold the club, seemingly that's all disappeared. And now, yeah, I think a lot of people would like to know how on earth they're able to do what they do. Seemingly with never any headaches. I remember hearing for 2 years that if they didn't get Champions League football, they were going to be screwed. And they didn't until this year. Didn't seem to have any effect. Still able to go out there and spend a load of money. Krister said, could Oxlade be a benchmark of how far we would be willing to pay for Guehi? Similar situation, if I'm not mistaken. 1 year left, we signed him. Maybe. I just think Marc Guehi is a sensible signing in any era or any time. He's just a good defender. You know, we've always spoken about the aerial dual success rate being a potential barrier, but with 1 year to go, someone's going to sign him. So we might as well be in the mix, considering we do need a centre-back, and he's experienced, he's a leader, he's homegrown, still young. Lots of plus points there. Man United are the same, don't get away with it. On Man United, Frank, can I just say this? On behalf of all of those staff that were binned off by Jim Radcliffe because of the shit show that happened, to see Man United being linked with an £85 million midfielder in Zaire Emery, a £65 million winger, having already signed a £62.5 million forward, and looking at a centre forward, I'm going to say this bluntly, that disgusts me as a human being that Radcliffe has the barefaced fucking cheek to be a sir and to see these people made unemployed and then straight back to spending huge sums of money when we were told United were close to going out of business almost, or, you know, couldn't afford lunches. And then they're out there spending. Now, they need to spend the money, but the hypocrisy of the way Radcliffe has acted, I think, is disgusting. And I really feel for those staff, those hard-working, loyal staff that were let go for penny pinching and cost cutting, and then they go and see this. It's disgusting. That's the only word I can use. It's absolutely disgusting. S4T said, I'm trying to figure out this Woodman transfer. Can you think of the reason behind it? Because I've seen some of his highlight reels and it's scary to watch. Not complaining, I'm just confused. It's just cover. Simple as that. You know, I wouldn't think too deeply about it. Not going to take up an overseas place. So, yeah, it's just cover, really. You know, to make sure we have that third keeper with Yaros going out on loan. Davies has moved out as well. And the youngster going into the 21, Young Petchy. So I think it's just, you know, a very straightforward bit of cover. Lone Wolf, how are we, dude? Evening, Craig. I just have a feeling we won't sign a centre forward. See, we play with 2 10s. Harvey might not be sold, my gut feeling. Harvey's gone. I'm just saying that to you point blank. I don't see that. Look, even if you don't believe me, look at Harvey Elliott at the end of the season. Just before we'd even signed Wirtz, look at Harvey Elliott on the last day of the season. You could see he was emotional. He was crying. He had to put on sunglasses. He knows. Even listening to his interviews, he knows. But I can totally, again, I love Elliott. But, you know, the manager hadn't given him any options last year, or many opportunities. And we've just brought in Wirtz, so his game time will have been even lessened. So I think he goes. But the striker situation, I can see a world where we don't sign one as well. I can. I'm certainly not sitting here as a fan taking it for granted that we're going to sign one. Wouldn't surprise me if we signed another versatile forward, somebody who can play across the front line. Whether that is Malik Fofana or somebody else, wouldn't surprise me at all. Craig, your mic sounds odd. Does it? I don't know, mate. I can't hear anything else. First person that's mentioned it, but if anyone else is having issues with my mic, do let me know so I can try to look at it. But yeah, I don't know what else to say at the moment, mate. Detroit Copeye said, I'm a passionate Reds fan, found the channel about 2 months ago and I love it here. Well, you're very welcome in, my friend. Thanks to you and Connor for all your hard work. Much love to my fellow Reds. Yeah, thank you and welcome in, Detroit Copeye, mate. I'm really glad you found us. I'm really glad you're enjoying your time with us, and we appreciate your support, my friend. Thank you. Mike's good. Cool. Sweet. Look, as long as it's good, that's all that matters. We can move on. Right, let's talk about this, actually. Ben Jacobs said Liverpool have no plans to pay 45 to 50 million pound for Marc. Price would need to be well south of this bracket. Liverpool are inclined to bring in a defender who is Kwanzaa's age or younger, unless a deal for Guehi is simply too strong not to proceed with. There is appreciation for Jarell Haddo. I absolutely understand what Ben Jacobs is saying there, and I agree, but I also think this is where football shows its hypocrisy, because we'll want to get Marc Guehi for low, and then we'll want to sell Konate for high. So I think it would be sensible to just get Guehi done at this point. Just bring him in. And if you want to go after Hato as well, fine. I'm not against playing hardball with Konate if he hasn't made his mind up yet. Like I've said, Konate has about 3.5 million left on his contract with Liverpool in wages. If needs be, let him sit on the bench for the season as the fifth choice. If we can't get him to agree a deal, I'd like to see us be proactive and go out there and bring in the centre backs we feel that we need. And if Hato's one that we would get if Konate moved on, then I think we need to look at that when Konate's still here if he's not going to stay. So I'd like to see us just go ahead with our business anyway, under the assumption that Konate isn't going to stay, because I don't know how much longer the club are going to have the back and forth with Konate's camp over a new deal. And I don't want us to go into a new season having a whole season again talking about the same shit we spoke about last year with Mo, with Virgil, with Trent. I know for me, that took away some of the enjoyment of last season. Obviously, winning the league title is amazing, but having that looming over us all year was draining, and I just don't want it again. So I hope Liverpool are ruthless and just deal with the situation quickly. Guehi could be politics to lower price. Chelsea is a 20% sell on. Yeah, I get that as well, Michael, but you know, Palace kind of knew this situation was coming because they turned down big money from Newcastle last year for Marc. So they knew that his valuation was going to be less in the summer. Now, Palace will look at this and think, well, we won the FA Cup. We're hopefully going into Europe. So maybe they feel like it was worth the risk. But yeah, I do think we have to get that deal done for me, for Marc. I want them. Sorry, I was distracted because S4T gifted 50 memberships. Absolute legend. Thank you so much, mate. And well done to everyone that's gotten one of those memberships. S4T, absolute gent. Thank you so much. Chris Davies as well, member with us for 13 months. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that, mate. Anfield Agenda Ultras member. Absolute legend, bro. Thank you. Right, I want to play a little quick game here. Just for shits and giggles, pick one of these centre-backs. Right, so... okay... okay, sweet. Nice. Right, so pick one to sign as things stand, Guehi or Hato. Now, I know that there's context needed to the question, but just for shits and giggles, right now, assuming Konate is staying and running down his deal or whatever, you have to pick one of these two to sign. Would it be Marc or Joao Hato? I'm very intrigued to see which way you guys go with this one. For what it's worth, for me, it would be Marc 100%, because I think we need that leadership, especially if Konate's future is away from the club. But if Konate were to go, I'd love us to move in for Joao Hato as well. So I'm not going to judge anyone's answer on it, but really just interested to see what way you're thinking. Bruno Rodriguez, a genuine question. If Liverpool ever bench the player who's not agreeing a new deal, maybe the best way to deal with Konate's situation. So we kind of did it with Coutinho, but he'd already signed a new deal at that point when he was kicking up the fuss. So the deal with him was that he'd done one more year at Liverpool and then he could get that move to Barca, but you know, he started kicking up a fuss then. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but it feels difficult because I can understand Konate's side of it. I can understand any player who signs a contract and sees out their contract. I get it. But we also have to look after our own interests and be selfish. So I don't want to get toxic with Ibu. I don't want to be bad-mouthing him because I really like him and I've enjoyed his time at the club. But if he does want to go to Real Madrid, then I think Liverpool have to either try and get a fee from this summer or just bench him. It has to be that simple. Because I don't think he is a Trent or a Salah or a Virgil. I think he's eminently replaceable. So yeah, for me, bench him. And because, as I said, he's only got £3.5 million worth of wages left to be paid, I think it's the right stance to make. Whereas if you're doing it with Trent for a year, let's say, well, you've got the local boy situation, you've got the fact that he's on about 10 million quid a year at the time. But with Konate, I think it's way easier to just play hardball and say, if you want to go to the World Cup, either sign a new contract or move this summer. Because if you're planning on running it down to join Real Madrid, well then we're not going to give you the game time, fella, and you probably won't get to go to the World Cup with Didier Deschamps. Peter, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. What about Jota? Is he staying or going? Not seeing a single thing to suggest an offer or a move is imminently coming. Although, when you've read through some journalists and they talk about players who may leave Liverpool, Jota's name is amongst them. For me, I just don't think you can do that now. There's already a severe lack of centre forwards out there. So for me, I'd keep Jota just in case. Because if you move Darwin on, even if you went into the season, you kept Dan's around, you had Jota, and you have, let's say, Diaz as an option that can play central at least, and then the two false nines, it gives you some options. So I think that, and I get the feeling that Arne trusts Hugo. You can see that towards the end of last season when he was selecting him. S40 said, only a pleasure to give memberships to others can enjoy amazing content. You're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you. Really, really kind of you. Terence Govender, how are we, Terence? Said, hey Craig, love your work. Keep up the good work. Again, thank you, sir. Never gets tiring hearing good things, my man. Thank you. There's Harvey. Dog's a lunatic. He's a lunatic. Itachi said, I like Konate, but we have to make a statement. Yes, exactly. We can't have this happening again and again. But the club aren't free from criticism here either, because they've allowed the contract situation to get to this point, just like they did with Virgil, Mo and Trent. So, certainly the club have to get some criticism for allowing this situation to come up again. James Banks, top man, appreciate you. Obviously, all the kind words, they really do mean a lot. Appreciate you all. Right, where are we at? So if you haven't joined, by the way, do check out our WhatsApp channel where we put in polls, ask you your thoughts on, everything from whether we should introduce the daily fantasy game that we were talking about between £2 to £5 to enter with prizes, PlayStations, all that kind of stuff. We ask you to help us shape the future of the channel, as well as giving you the up-to-date transfer stuff. So scan that QR code if you haven't joined our WhatsApp community. Rishi, how are we, dude? Said Nathan Collins has a better aerial duel win rate than Konate. He's also better than Guehi in 3 defensive matrix, as per F-Brief. Hope we go for him. Well, look, I'm kind of a little bit biased there, because obviously he's Irish, I'm Irish, and I would love another Irishman at the club. And he's also a damn solid defender, Nathan Collins. I haven't heard much lately, to be honest, Rishi, over a move for him, but again, a really good option and a really good player. But the Marc situation just lends itself to being available, really, because Palace can't let him go for free. Matthew, how are we, dude? Matthew, UFC Canada, said, if the window ends now, are you happy? No, because we've left ourselves even shorter at centre-back because Kwanzaa's moving. So no, I wouldn't be happy. If we brought in Marc Guehi and we didn't have any more incomings, barring any huge outgoings, I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't be angry. I agree with the chat earlier on. They were saying 2 to 3 more signings, I think, is needed. Right, more news. What's this one? Right. Do you know what? Let me just fly through the news really quickly from start to finish for everybody, and then we'll get back into the chat. So, where are we at? Is it this one? Right. So we're going to start off with Sami Mokbel of the BBC saying, if Palace value Guehi at a price the Premier League champions deem fair, and Liverpool enter the discussions at a figure that the Londoners don't perceive as lowballing, then that could open the door towards a successful and amicable negotiation. With that in mind, the first point of formal contact between the two clubs will be crucial. On top of that, we have Sami Mokbel again saying there have been indications, though, that the South London club may be willing to accept a deal worth between 40 and 45 million. I think it needs to be at the lower end of that for us. The Mirror have said Darwin Nunez is ready to join Napoli this summer, but the Italian club are unwilling to meet Liverpool's £70 million valuation. Then we had the Manchester United link to Warren Zaire-Emery being available this summer for about £85 million, which is again a piss take. Napoli have had direct contact with Liverpool this week, but the gap is still big, said Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool are asking 65 to 70 million euro minimum. Napoli are far below that, so right now there is no agreement and there is not a deal close. Then Nico Shearer said positive talks between Marc Guehi's agents and Liverpool. Guehi has given his availability to join the Reds for a contract till 2030, and Liverpool are working to reach an agreement with Palace. Then we had the Ben Jacobs piece that said Liverpool have no plans to pay 45 to 50 million for Guehi. Price would need to be well south of that. Liverpool are inclined to bring in a defender who is Kwanzaa's age or younger, unless a deal for Marc Guehi is simply too strong not to proceed with. There is appreciation for Joel Haddo. Then we moved on to Bild in Germany, saying Hugo Ekitike is now seriously considered as part of Arsenal's transfer plans. Again, coming back to Sami Mokbel of the BBC, Arsenal have concrete interest in Marc Guehi and have made initial inquiries into a potential move for the player, but have now turned their attentions to Valencia centre-back Christian Mosquera. And why is that? Well, it's because, much like the Vert situation, they were told that his preference would be to join Liverpool. This piece here said from Talksport, Alex Crook said Liverpool only move for Marc Guehi if Palace dropped their valuation from £45 million. Malik Fofana, price from Caught Offside, said Liverpool have learned the asking price for Lyon winger Malik Fofana with the French club facing relegation. I don't think they will get relegated. I think they'll appeal it and get at least one more year. The Reds are one of the clubs linked with an interest in the Belgian this summer. Lyon looks set to be relegated and then a fire sale could be expected. Caught Offside claim that they're looking for a fee of about 45-50 million euro. Then we had Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail saying Mail Sport understands that a number of clubs have deals on hold until they can register the spend on the 2025-26 club's accounts. That's the PSR situation. Then we have Kave Solokol having a bit of beef here with Jurgen. He said, basically Jurgen said, if you don't like the Club World, or he said, if you don't like the Club World Cup, go and play paddle or go for a swim. And Kave Solokol has given Jurgen Klopp some advice after Jurgen Klopp said the Club World Cup is the worst idea ever implemented in football. Then we had David Ornstein giving the exclusive about Chelsea and Brighton reaching an agreement for Joao Pedro. That was quickly followed by Fabrizio Romano. Saudi Pro League want Luis Diaz, is what Dario Sport is saying. Liverpool are yet to see sufficient progress from Diaz camp over his renewal plans and could still sanction a summer sale. The club's hierarchy are determined to avoid a repeat of their contract chaos earlier this year, as Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk finally signed extensions to their expiring deals. Liverpool will not permit that situation to happen again. Al Nassr are readying a mammoth offer to try and lure him away from Merseyside in July. And I think that offer will be good enough for Liverpool, but I don't know what way it's going to be received by Diaz. Then we had the Palace Way saying Liverpool have now passed a significant milestone in their endeavour to sign Marc Guehi. The Palace Way understands that Guehi is now keen on a move to Liverpool. So that's kind of where we're at the minute with the latest updates. Steve Ward, welcome to Anfield Agenda Ultras, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, 50 grand. John and Tom Werner out said, disgrace from Sky, Cave towards Klopp. You seen it? Yeah, it is. But I don't know what else to say. Jurgen Klopp's absolutely spot on in everything that he said. But I'm also getting tired of hearing from Klopp, if I'm being honest as well. So yeah, I just, if anybody who doesn't think the Club World Cup is a farce, I don't know what to say. It's a joke. Even the teams don't want to be there. 7 or 8 games now interrupted because of weather. And they want the next one back there again in 4 years' time. Now, I know summer is summer and all, but, you know, that delay again in the Chelsea game last night was a piss take. The whole thing is a joke, and player welfare has gone out the window. It's just greed, 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 and more money. And Jurgen Klopp is saying exactly what every single manager on the face of the planet thinks about the Club World Cup. David Massett said, "Evening, Craig." Good evening to you, David. Right, let's check this poll. So, we've had 1,250 votes. If you can't, do take a second and vote for us. Pick one to sign as things stand. Marc Guehi or Joao Pedro. Who would you take right now? I think Frimpong could play right wing when Salah is away with Conor Bradley. Hickey, I think you're right. And I think it's certainly a very good option for us to have for the AFCON coming up. You know, we know Mo's going to be away for a while. So, yeah, Frimpong gives us an option on that right side. Szoboszlai, I guess, could drift out there. Maybe young Rio could have that breakthrough. Because certainly he's going to be looked at in pre-season. And if he has a really good pre-season, who knows? What's my dream signing this window? Said AJ. It would have been Julian Alvarez, probably. That would have been incredible. Jared Branthwaite, I would have loved as well as a young centre-back option. But, you know, I'm very happy with the business that we have done. And, you know, the only position I've got some uncertainty about is centre-forward. Because I really don't know what way the club's thought process is. Centre-back, it kind of takes care of itself, you know. You need to bring one in because we're selling Kwanzaa. So Marc Guehi's a very solid choice. What happened to the old Club World Cup? They actually won it a while back. Do you want the honest answer? FIFA want more money. That's the honest answer. Gianni Infantino sold his soul to the highest bidder. And basically, the Club World Cup is FIFA's way to try and wrestle back money because UEFA are just printing it. UEFA have the Euro Championships, the best leagues in Europe, and they have the Champions League, which is by far and away the biggest commercial entity in football. And FIFA just want their greedy little mitts to be greased. It's as simple as that. It's nothing to do with the good of the game. It's nothing to do with anything other than Gianni Infantino rubbing shoulders and mixing with people and selling his soul to the fucking world. That's it. That's my take on it. It's a disgrace. So the old tournament's being cancelled because they want this one every 4 years. Doesn't matter, there's no space in the calendar for it. Doesn't matter that player welfare goes out the window. As long as FIFA get their money, that's it. It'll be put under the good of the game nonsense, or the growth of the game, which is just absolute nonsense. And I'm choosing my words carefully here because, God, I have strong feelings on that. Right, let me just read this out. So the Davo Cop thing that you're all talking about is Liverpool are now in direct discussions with Marc Guehi. The move is set to accelerate after Jarell Kwanzaa officially leaves. Guehi only wants Liverpool move. So none of that is an exclusive, even though Dave's trying to claim it as an exclusive. It's all absolute common knowledge. The amount of exclusives that I've seen. So for instance, the other day Romano had an exclusive that I spoke about the day before. And I wasn't the first with it. Just look, good news that Liverpool are talking with Marc Guehi's camp, but we've known for a week that Marc Guehi would like to go to Liverpool. We've known for a week that a deal to 2030 in personal terms wouldn't be a problem. So unless, I don't know, unless something else is in that article, there's not really much of an exclusive there. Sunil, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Any news on Victor Osimhen? Nope. Oh, yes, there was a little bit yesterday. Sorry, I covered it in a video yesterday. Let me go back over it for you, because there was actually a little bit yesterday. I just want to get the date right before I say this, so bear with me. Right, so this here said that Osimhen has a release clause worth 75 million euro, but interestingly, that release clause expires on the 15th of July, meaning that Napoli, if they wanted to, could go even higher with the price tag. Now, if they can't get rid of him now, I don't see how they're going to go higher with it. But July 15th is the date that his release clause expires. So if you want to get him for that 75 million euro, then you agree a deal at that. But after that, I guess they could look for more money if they wanted to, although they'd be absolute idiots to do it because there's not exactly clubs outside of Saudi now queuing up to throw a load of money at them for Victor Osimhen. Adam Plum, how are we, mate? And welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Appreciate you. So what we're thinking of doing with the podcast as well is we might try and find a way where we put it up a couple of hours early for members to make sure that you get the benefit of your membership as well. So just in case you're joining us a bit late, I mentioned this earlier on, coming into this season, myself, Chris Stonage and Steve Bland are going to start a once a week podcast. It'll be a video podcast and it will be up on Spotify, it'll go up on YouTube, but we're probably going to put some early bits out for members just to say again, thank you for your continued support. Old Club World Cup is now the new Club World Cup in an expanded format. Yeah, it's just, as you said, mate, it's just all about the money, Sunil, isn't it? And it doesn't matter about player welfare either. Craig, why are most of our fixtures at 3 p.m. on Saturdays? They're not. It's just, I don't know how people don't know the answer to this, by the way, but it's just that when the fixtures are put out, they're all Saturday 3 p.m.s until the television companies come in and make their picks. So the television companies so far have gone in and picked up, I think, until end of September, something like that. So, for instance, the Manchester United game that I'm going to is scheduled for a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. There is absolutely no chance in hell that that's a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. So I wouldn't worry about it yet. It's just that the TV companies haven't yet gone in and picked their slots for anything past the end of September. But it's just a default thing, basically. When they put the fixtures out, they usually just default them to Saturday 3 p.m. Hello from Australia. What do you think? Konate plus 18 million for Rodrigo. Let's play Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid would say you're about 50 million quid short. And look, I like Rodrigo, but I gotta say, I just don't want us doing any business with Madrid. I just don't. They're, yeah, I hate them. Can't wait until October. See you then. Nice. Gate Liverpool, here we go. Well, that's absolute bullshit. We haven't got the here we go on that one. So, but again, it does look very likely. So, Dennis, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I assume that you're not trying to bait me. We're asking me if I'd go for Thomas Partey. The answer is very firmly no, and the fact that Arsenal even played him, I think, is a disgrace. But apart from that, obviously, legally, I've got to be really careful about my answer. So let's just say, I don't think he is the right type of character to have at our football club. That's the most polite that I can possibly be about that. I would sniff around Partey, would you? I wouldn't want them anywhere near our football club. In fact, if we signed him, I'd be absolutely disgusted from a human perspective. Disgusted. Chelsea are cooking. Joao Pedro is the closest thing to Firmino. I love this. This makes me laugh. So I said many times that Liverpool had considered Joao Pedro, and without fail, everybody was, no, not good enough. Chelsea go and sign him. Now all of a sudden we've missed out. It makes me laugh. He's a decent signing. There's no denying that, but I don't think he would have been good enough for us. That's the way I view it anyway. But he's a good player. He is. Just I just don't see him being good enough for us. Des, thank you, bro. Appreciate you, Des. The thing is, Chelsea are buying him as a backup. Are they? I don't think they are. I'm going to make this call. This is a guess, by the way, but this is my take on it. So Chelsea are going to sign Joao Pedro, and next I expect Nkunku to end up at United and Garnacho to end up at Chelsea. Now, again, I have no inside information on that. I'm trying to just guess this out, but that's how I think it's going to go. You'll see Nkunku now linked with Manchester United, and I think you'll see Garnacho going in the opposite direction. That's the way I think this one ends up. Is Isak worth over 100 million quid at 26 and slightly injury prone? We should go for someone younger and cheaper. So I guess, Sunil, value is always dependent on what you think. So if Liverpool view him, for instance, Jack Grealish wasn't worth £100 million, but he was to Man City and Aston Villa. So in this situation, in the cold light of day, is Isak worth upwards of 100 million quid? No, probably not. But would your team improve with him in there? Yes, it would. So for me, I just want Liverpool to get whoever the manager wants. If that's Ekitike, grand. If it's Osimhen, grand. If it's Isak, grand. I just want them to get the number one target. I just don't know who that is. But I do agree, it certainly feels a very inflated price, even though Newcastle don't want to sell. How are we? Do say hello to Taddy for me. I don't know your name, actually, the younger Bransfield, but much love to yourself and your dad, who I know his name is Taddy. So yes, much love to you both. And I still haven't forgotten, by the way, to post you over your mug. I'm just waiting for newer versions of our mug. So I've got a few bits I wanted to send over to you in Sweden, but I promise you I haven't forgotten just yet. Right, let's keep going. How have I got a membership? Somebody gifted 50, Oliver, earlier on. Somebody, S4T, very kindly gifted 50 memberships. Right, so we need about 240 more votes to finish up this one. As things stand, pick one centre-back you would sign out of Marc Guehi or Joao Pedro. If you haven't voted yet, please do. Alfie, how are we, dude? Alfie Staunton said, hey Craig, I'm late. What's the news on Isak? Have we pulled out of the race? No. Just that there isn't really much on Isak apart from the fact that Newcastle have lost out on trying to get Joao Pedro. So I'm trying to figure out whether that's good, bad news or indifferent for Liverpool. You know, I'd always wondered, were Newcastle looking to bring in Joao Pedro to, you know, kind of replace Callum Wilson as an example, or to have a good backup option, or were they maybe preparing the groundwork for an eventual Isak sale? But we've just gotten the news that Joao Pedro is going to be joining Chelsea for a deal of upwards of £50 million. Blah said, comparing Pedro to Firmino is like comparing Mini to an Aston Martin, both from the same place but totally different class. Yeah, look, I wouldn't have minded Joao Pedro, but as the number one guy, it just would have I felt like he is a second striker option. And maybe that's what Chelsea are doing with the lap, I don't know. But yeah, I agree, mate. That comparison is crazy, because I think Bobby Firmino is being disrespected with that comparison. Stephen Shopping, thank you, bro, for gifting a membership. Right, Stephen again. Say, Craig, I've been wondering who your favourite Red is at the moment. Who would you enjoy watching the most? Good question. It would either be Alisson Becker or Alexis McAllister would be my favourite at the moment. Probably Maka. I just have this mad man crush on Maka. I just think he's just a complete person. Quiet, understated, goes about his business, top player, versatile. Love him. Think he's a great player and an absolute bargain. So yeah, right now, Alisson or Maka, but you know, in more recent times, Bobby Firmino. I absolutely idolise Bobby. And Robbie Fowler is my favourite of all time. Sunil said, Guehi would be perfect. I just hope we can get him for under 50. Let's go Edwards and Hughes. I think we will. I honestly don't think the Crystal Palace really believe they'll get 50 million. I think 40 is where this deal ends up at. S40, how are we again, my friend? Said, I always liked the idea of Joao Pedro until last season. Way too hot-headed as he got away with a lot of dirty play. No point replacing one hothead for another hothead. Fair point. I think the price point is about right, though. £50 million seems much more reasonable. I remember talking about a link to him and 100 million being mentioned at the time. Brandfield said, I can't wait for him to see it. My name is Noah. Thank you, Noah. And do you know what? I actually remember that now, Noah. I should have known that your name was Noah. Thank you. Jason Curry. How are we, Jay? Said, Craig, have you noticed in past years we sign players from other clubs who score against us or played well against us? Oh, God, yes. Yeah. It's the only way I could ever explain the Adam Bogdan thing. You know, we played Bolton, I think, under Rodgers in the League Cup or something. Darwin, like you've mentioned. Yeah, we have had a history of doing that. Jurgen, I think, as well, a couple of times had been impressed by players we played against. So, but also, I can understand it because whatever about watching a player on tape, if you see them against your system and they do well, I can understand the appeal of that as well. But I do think you're probably spot on, mate. Yes, it's probably happened quite a bit. What do you think about Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a free from Everton? No, I think we're all right for Mighty Red. Yeah, I think Mighty Red, you know, he's all right. We've got somebody to wear that costume. We don't need anybody to wear a kilt. So, yeah, pass. Thanks very much on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Big pass from me on that one. Craig, why can would any young player choose to part a career at Chelsea? It can only be money. Look, Chelsea has appeal. They're a London club, so London certainly to a certain profile of player would be hugely appealing. They are in the Champions League now. As you said, you're probably going to get a decent payday and a long contract. It's just, I don't know. I just not really a fan of Chelsea as a club, so don't really see the appeal. But it is in London, and London clubs always do have an appeal to players. Stephen, I love watching Gravenberg. He stepped up so well last year, changing positions. He'll be a big player for our club's future, I believe. Absolutely agree. But we got to get that balance of giving him a break as well. Right, have we got to 2,000 votes yet? We only need 8 more, and then we're there. 6 more. 5 more. Nearly there. Come on, keep voting. 1 more. There we go. So we said pick one as things stand. 83% said that you would sign Marc Guehi over Jarell Hato. And I totally understand and agree with that because we do need that experience. Realistically, who do you think would be the striker? So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't sign one. I'm not saying that that's the ideal outcome, by the way, but you know, looking at the options, Ekitike is overpriced. Isak's either overpriced or unavailable. Osimhen, there has to be some reason that clubs aren't kicking down Napoli's door to sign him. Šeško, well, there's not really been much talk of us being interested in, but I like him. Yeah, it's one that's why I kept coming back to that John Duran potential loan. Now it looks as if he's going to join up with Mourinho, but I really did wonder why maybe we didn't try to farm Darwin out to Al Nassr or something and take John Duran on loan then for a season while we see Jayden Dan's development. I don't know. I really just don't know what to expect there. Antonio Silva's the best replacement for Konate. He's been up and down a little bit, Antonio Silva at Benfica. I think what we're doing, well, you said for Konate, so I'm going to assume then it's Marc Guehi for Kwanzaa. I think Jarell Hato is the answer because of that versatility and that Dutch connection as well. Like, if we ended this window with Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Marc Guehi, and Jarell Hato as our centre-back options, as well as young Nallo and, you know, the ability for other players to drop in, I'd be happy with that. That would be a collection of centre-backs that I think we'd be more than covered with youthful potential. for Haddo, as well as experience from Marc, and Virgil and Joe. Would you consider Ollie Watkins on a 3-year contract? Yes, but for a lot less than the £50 million. Ollie Watkins is a brilliant player and certainly has a lot of the attributes that would work well for us. But for the fact that he's headed for 30 and you probably talk about 50 million quid, it just seems like a non-runner. Is the 2-meter Messi going to Bayern? It's kind of up in the air because Bayern didn't approach Stuttgart. They went straight to the player, and Stuttgart are really pissed off about it and are now demanding €100 million from Bayern. So, and I get it. You know, Bayern, just the sheer arrogance of the way that club tend to go about their business. I think it's coming back to bite them in the arse. Bayern are having an absolute nightmare of a window. So they lost Nico Williams. He'll go to Barca. They've lost, obviously, Florian Wirtz. We signed him. And they're struggling. They've been linked with Diaz and Gakpo. Best of luck there. They're just having a nightmare of a window. And even with this signing of Voltmada, they've pissed off the selling club by not going to them and going directly to the player. So, yeah. And then you've got the Dortmund CEO or whoever he was rolling over and going, I wish Wirtz stayed even if he played for Bayern because I'm such a fucking cuck. Imagine being a fan of Dortmund, hearing your CEO come out and talk about Bayern saying you'd rather Wirtz went to a rival so he stayed in the league. That is the most beta behaviour I've ever heard. It's shocking. And that's why Bayern dominate, because everyone just rolls over and has their belly tickled. David said, do you see us getting Guehi? What, you and me? I think it's certainly very plausible, David, yes. Obviously, I don't have inside knowledge of this, so unlike when I told you Wirtz, Frimpong and Kerkez will be Liverpool players. And by the way, I'm still very chuffed about that because that was a big call at the start of the window to make from us, but I knew they were going to happen. But with these, I don't know. But my gut feeling is yes, there's a really good chance. This one, Sunil said, Konate would be dumb not to accept an offer in a World Cup year. Pretty sure Liverpool would double his wages from 70 to 140, which is what he's worth. I would agree. I don't disagree with a single word you've written. I love the valuation. I think that's about right. World Cup year, I totally agree with you on that as well. You know, you want consistency going into a World Cup year, and you know, and also, and I don't think we've talked about this enough either, Sunil. It's not like Liverpool are a no-hoper club. Like, Konate is at one of the biggest clubs in world football that is going to challenge for major trophies and have just won a major trophy. So it's not like the project isn't appealing either here. You know, I don't know why you'd want to leave Liverpool. I totally understand why you want better terms and to be paid more, but I wouldn't be looking to get out the door at Liverpool right now. It's an absolutely fantastic time for our football club. And with the investment and the players that have already come in at the start of this window, you'd imagine they'd be chomping at the bit to want to stay and play. So yeah, I agree. Every word you've written, my man. I reckon the reason why no one is smashing down the door for Osimhen is his wage demands. Saudi could offer him enough, and we all know they overpay. Yeah, they're still, I think, open to signing him. Now, he's turned down, I think, a couple of offers from Saudi. And again, I have no idea. I would imagine Osimhen, 26, probably wants to continue to challenge in Europe and at the top level. So we'll have to wait and see. So here's one for you. I want to ask you guys what you think happens with Lucho. So bear with me. Okay, what happens with Diaz this summer? So okay. Yep. Okay. Right, so what happens with Diaz this summer? I've got 4 options here. Stays and signs a new deal, stays with no new deal, sold to Saudi, or sold elsewhere. What do you think happens? So I think we've covered pretty much every eventuality. So just be careful again. First one is stays and signs a new deal. Second one is stays with no new deal, sold to Saudi, or sold elsewhere. Let's see what you think on this one. Because for me, I think Liverpool would take the Al Nassr offer financially, but I don't know what Lucho's thought process would be on a move to Saudi. I can't see Liverpool throwing money at him for a new deal. There doesn't seem to be any indication that's going to happen. Barca just haven't got the desire, it seems, to sign him, as it looks like they want Nico Williams. And by the way, if they don't sign Nico Williams, they have just put that young man through quite a bit. Because I don't know if you've seen, his mural has been done 3 times now. It's been covered over. And messages left on it from angry Bilbao fans. So Diaz should want to keep that in mind as well, because Barca have a history of leaving players hung out to dry there. So, yeah. Sunil said, Kwanzaa, Elliott, Morton with the €21 with brilliant performances, and we're set to lose them all. If we do sell, we should have buyback clauses. So Kwanzaa, we do have a buyback clause. Elliott, as you said, it may happen, or we may put a sell on. Morton, I just don't think there will be either in his one, to be honest with you. But I do think he can go and play in the Premier League. Arian, we don't put release clauses, really. Very, very rarely, mate, we put a release clause into our deals. Kidnap Branthwaite. That wouldn't be a bad show. He's I really like him as a player. Diaz could get a 100% wage increase and still only be on just over 100k a week. He's on silly low money considering his contribution. Again, I don't disagree. But I also can see it from Liverpool's standpoint. Liverpool can look at this and go, even if we let Diaz go for free in 2 years' time, we would have got value out of it because of the low wage and the service he's given. So I absolutely agree that Luis Diaz deserves a new deal. But what I can tell you is whether Liverpool will actually offer him one or not. Because it doesn't look like it's forthcoming. So at the same time, we've heard today, Liverpool don't want a situation to happen again where a contract gets run down. But at the same time, they don't want to sell, but they might sell for the right number. Again, mixed messaging out there. I think if somebody puts down €85 million for Luis Diaz, Liverpool are open to selling. That's my take. And I think if Al Nassr come forward with the money, Liverpool will be open to selling him. I just don't know what Lucho's thought process is. Would you cash in on Diaz? I wouldn't be looking to rush him out the door. You know, I like the options that we have on the left side of our attack. But also, if the offer came in and he was willing to move, would I take it? Yes, I would. If you got 85, 90 million euro for Luis Diaz, I think you can go out there and bring in a replacement for less, a younger replacement, maybe somebody with a higher ceiling. So, yeah, I would take it. I would. I'd certainly be more open to that than selling Cody Gakpo. What do you think about Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free? No, he's absolutely horrendous and is injured more than any other player that we have at the club. Why? No, Calvert-Lewin, no, absolutely no. If we don't offer Diaz a new deal and we don't sell, he's going to be an unhappy player. So how does that benefit us? Don't know. Don't know. I understand it. Like I've said, for me, it feels as if he should have a new deal. Certainly. But it doesn't look like it's forthcoming. So again, I get it. For what it's worth, going into this summer, I've always believed he was going to be sold. That was my take. If the offer came in, I think Liverpool would take it. But I can't tell you what Lucho feels like, because we know Barcelona, if Barcelona had said there's 85 million euro, he'd be a Barca player. But I don't know if he wants to go to Al Nassr or not. And I don't know how many truckloads of cash that they might be reversing up to Lucho's gaff to try and tempt him over to Al Nassr. Certainly, look at the Ronaldo contract and look at what they were willing to pay to Saudi, what they were willing to pay Bruno Fernandes. You'd have to say it would probably be a very tempting financial offer. You'll be lucky if you get 100 million for both Nunez and Diaz. Together, I mean, we'll absolutely get it. The Diaz stuff, I'm telling you, you'll see the offer. It's coming. They're going to put in an offer. Unless Diaz tells Al Nassr point blank no interest, that offer's on the way. And it will be starting at about the 85 million euro bracket and probably going upwards. What happened to the Moroccan centre-back? No idea. Haven't got a clue. So many names, mate, have been talked about over the last 18 months that I can't keep track of them all. We have to be careful how many players we go out. Could be left short. We sold one player, mate. One. So, let's relax about this. We've always known that Kwanzaa was going to go out after the goalkeeper situation with Kelleher. So, yes, one out, one in there. Elliott was always going to be moved on, and Wirtz has already been brought in, so I don't think we're worrying about that one. Up front, yes, we do need to look at it, because we may well lose Chiesa, and I'm not sure if we replace him. If we lost Diaz or Darwin, definitely need to start talking about another forward or two. Yeah, he's gay and proud. Yeah, as am I, my friend. As am I. And he looks very good in the Liverpool shirt as well. Because there's an edit over here I'm looking at, sorry. We should not sell our left wingers. We can sell Diaz next year at a lower price. With my recent depth reading Liverpool's strategy, we do not sell our best players. We make the most of them. That's how we maximise talent. I just wonder, again, I think the Diaz situation has Michael Edwards' fingerprints on it. And I wonder if Liverpool secretly have expected to have to replace him this summer. I don't know. Again, I can never prove that, but my thought process going into this summer was he's going to go. And I think Liverpool feel like that they can improve that position with a younger player. So let's just wait and see how it pans out. What's the latest on Guehi? I'm late to the stream. So, Mason, it's all pretty much been upbeat stuff today, mate, around the situation about Guehi. Even Palace forums are saying that, it looks like Liverpool are moving closer to a potential deal there for Marc Guehi. The Palace Way said Liverpool have now passed a significant milestone in their endeavour to sign Marc Guehi this summer, assuring him game time ahead of a World Cup. The Palace Way understands that Guehi is now keen on a move to Liverpool. And then we had the Davo Cop thing, which I'm refusing to call an exclusive. Liverpool are now in direct conversations with Marc Guehi. The move is set to accelerate after Kwanzaa officially leaves, and Guehi only wants Liverpool. The problem might be if we lowball Palace. A lot of people think that if Liverpool come in really low, Palace will just slam the door and won't even get into a conversation. So, yeah, it'll probably come down to how the initial approach is. But he wants Liverpool. I think Liverpool view him as a very good opportunistic signing that will give us experience and, again, cover us if the worst comes to the worst with Konate. Ray Leon, Fofana and Mikawadze for Jota/Chiesa. I don't think Jota's going to go personally, but, certainly not saying that's a fact. Chiesa's gone a little bit quiet, although the last thing I'd really seen of serious interest was Roma, who, of course, have got Gasperini as their new head coach. And it was thought that he was a player that he wanted to bring in. The Gasperini wanted to bring into Roma. So Yeah, it'll depend if Liverpool can get the money for Chiesa. If somebody puts the money down, then yeah, he'd probably get sold. Thoughts on Pedro to Chelsea? I think it's a fair price. Again, I think it probably signals the end of Christopher Nkunku at Chelsea. They've brought in Liam Delap as well. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be all right about that. Bringing in Delap, so you have an out-and-out number 9, and they've got him coming in, who's a good player, and I think £50 million sounds like a decent enough deal. So, but is it? It's not a wow, is it? Like, it's not gonna put the shits up us as Liverpool fans or put the fear into opposition, but it's a good solid piece of business. Jota ain't finished, said Billy Shears. Very useful. And I think Arna probably agrees with you, mate. You've seen that at the end of last season when he had the choice between Darwin and Jota, he was leaning to Jota. So I think he wouldn't be at the very top of the list for the manager. I think he's a trustworthy player to have around. I think if Diogo maybe pushes for a move and something comes in that works for him, I don't know what happens, but I agree with you on that one. Rodrigo, perfect replacement for Lucho. Look, I love Rodrigo as a footballer, but there's just no way I see Liverpool going in to do business with Real Madrid. I just don't see it happening. And I don't see two things. One, I can't imagine Liverpool would pay the wages. That would have to accompany a deal probably of €100 million. That I just don't. I'd love to be wrong, by the way, because I do like Rodrigo, and I know Michael Edwards does, because we tried to sign him. And we nearly had him for about $2.5–3 million before he decided to stay in Brazil a little bit longer, and then ended up moving to Real Madrid. But yeah, we were close. We nearly had Rodrigo when he was younger. Do you think we still need a CDM as backup? Yes and no. It depends what the manager wants to do with Bajcetic and McConnell, because both of them have the ability and the potential to be a backup. But in saying that, if Gravenberch got injured in the first month of the season, I would be a liar if I said I didn't think there'd be a drop-off. So it's a tough one. It is. I think the manager would be well served to watch them both in pre-season. Hopefully Bajcetic can get past the hamstring surgery and get back. McConnell always impresses me when I see him play. So just give them pre-season before making any decision is what I'd say. You've got Endo there as well if needs be, but look into the future. See, the thing about Endo is he's grand for 5-10 minutes, but I don't think he's the guy to play the role the way I think we have to change the way we play if Endo's going to be the defensive midfielder in the team, because he just can't do. He's not as press resistant as Gravenberch is. He's a great workhorse, wins the ball back upfield, can certainly get in and around the penalty area as well, but he's not as press resistant as Gravenberch is. He's not as good at carrying the ball through the lines. There's just different attributes there. Salah as a striker. See, that's something loads of us, and I definitely put myself in this camp, would have loved to have seen a little look at. Definitely, and I thought it would have been a natural thing as Mo got a bit older, the possibility of a move in central. But so far, we haven't really seen an indication of it from the manager. But I dare say a lot of us in the chat wouldn't mind seeing Mo given a run through the middle. What's the latest with the Isak situation? Nothing really new. The reason we spoke about it tonight was because Newcastle lost out on Joao Pedro. Chelsea have just agreed to sign him. So we're kind of wondering what way Newcastle are going to react to that. Would you say if Chiesa leaves, we keep Doak to learn off the king for a couple of years? Will be interesting to see, and I'd hope we have enough creativity and firepower. So I've always felt like Ben Doak is going to be done a little bit dirty at Liverpool, because it doesn't look like he's going to get a chance. And when I spoke to people, and this is old information, so things may have changed, it was believed that he was always going to be sold, and that the decision was made that he wasn't going to be the one for Liverpool moving on. But would I mind if he was kept around? Not at all. You know, he looks like he's got something about him. But unless the plans have changed, I think the thought was for him to be sold, or maybe even another loan. David, hi Craig bro, I promised I would fly in from Italy for your show in Cork. Any recommendations for a hotel near the venue? In from the 6th to the 10th. Oh, I don't know as of yet. I'm not even going to stay overnight. I'm just going to drive down and drive home, David. So leave it with me, and I will talk to a couple of Corkonians that I know and ask for some recommendations for you. But yeah, I don't have one off the top of my head. But again, leave it with me. If you don't find one, I will adhere to find out what the best one is. And the show that David's speaking about, by the way, is this one, which is our last ever Irish show. We're going to be at Cypress Avenue, Cork, 8th of August. Again, last show in Ireland, and then our last ever show is going to be in Liverpool, Sunday 19th of October, the weekend of the Manchester United game. We're at the Hot Water Comedy Club for our last ever stage show, and I'm going to be joined by Chris, by Steve, and by Jack as well for the night. We'll have live music, and I can't wait. And I'm also going to be relieved when they're done, because that'll be the end of me having to stress about stepping on a stage. Sonder said, 66 has left us with zero ball progression in the build-up. Gravenberch, Frimpong, Kerkez all prefer carrying to break lines compared to play a little breaking pass. So, good analysis, Sonder, firstly. But also, we have Virgil, and we have, at the moment, Konate, who I think is a little bit underrated for his passing ability. But I think that we're going to see a change to the way that we play now that 66 has gone and Arna has gotten in his number 10. So I don't expect us to set up and play the same way we did last season, personally. Did somebody else give memberships that I've missed there? JC! There he is, Mr. Shrimpy. How are we, dude? Love you, bro. Always good to see you win. JC has gifted 50 memberships as well. Absolute legend of a man. My Shrimpy brother in arms. Nice to see you, JC. And love to the parents, mate, as always. I hope you're... well, I can't wait to hear how your mum enjoys her birthday gift that you're sorting her out. That was very kind of you. Right, let's keep going. Right, so we asked, what happens with Lucho this summer? Now, again, please do vote if you haven't done so. Let's see if we can get up to 1,500 before we finish up. So the question was, what happens with Diaz? He stays and signs a new deal. He stays with no new deal. He gets sold to Saudi, or he gets sold elsewhere. We have about 1,200 votes on that one so far, and we'll finish it just before we end tonight's stream. Right, we only need 42 more likes as well to keep the row of 1,000 going, which is incredible. Thank you to everyone that does hit that like button. Andy, thank you, bro. Do you know what? I've got to say, I'm so enjoying the chat again. There was a period where I was dreading it because there was a lot of crap in the chat. But I think you guys have kicked them out, stamped them out, pushed them out. And the chat lately has been wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on every night chatting with you guys. Rather than finishing with a potential headache sometimes, you know, worrying about, did I go in too much or get angry? You've been amazing. So thank you for that. I really enjoyed my time on here over the last week or so. Right, Luke said, hi Craig, just wondering what your dream but realistic starting 11 is for game 1 next season. Love your work, mate, from Australia. Thank you, Luke. So Allison, I don't mind whether it's Bradley or Frimpong at right back. Centre back, Guehi and... well, you said dream but realistic. I think Guehi and Van Dijk. Left back, Kerkez. Midfield, well, it won't be Gravenberch for the first game because he's suspended. So let's say Maka, Wirtz, Soboslai, Salah. Hopefully a new number 9. So let's say Isak, just to, you know, be bold. And on the left side then probably start with Gakpo. Mr. MH, thank you. Appreciate you. Everybody seems pretty cool. Yeah, they're really nice people. That's what I keep saying. It's an honor to be at the head of this community. Honestly, they're just great people, and I love it. I love chatting with them all every night. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm such a fortunate guy to be able to do this day in, day out. Oh, nearly. I didn't even notice the subscriber count, by the way. I don't know how I forgot that. We need one more subscriber. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. We're just about to hit 329,000. Do you know what, though? Being really weird, I want to get a screenshot when that goes 333,333 in a few thousand subscribers' time. Yeah, 333,333. I need to get a screenshot of that one if it happens. So, yes, if you can, please do hit that subscribe button and help us go over the 329. Supervid, as always, keeping me going whilst I work. Thank you, Mutai Squirrel. That is a belter of a name. Mutai Squirrel. Love it. Well done, mate. I do love a good account name. Scott said, I love Lucho, but he's openly said he wants to play for Barca. He'll run his contract down and move there. I don't want that hanging over our head, so I'd sell him this window to the highest bidder. I don't think he gets Barca. I think if they bring in Nico Williams, that's done for Lucho. And they've kind of done him a bit dirty as well. You know, they flirted with him and then kind of turned the tables on him and said that he wasn't pushing hard enough for the move. I just feel like Barca have done him a bit dirty. JC, thank you, bro, for coming back to the Anfield Agenda Ultras, as well as your incredibly generous gift of 50 memberships, and same for S4T. Craig, imagine McAllister, Thiago and Wirtz in the same midfield. Ooh, Stephen. That would be incredible. Craig, you doing a watch-along or match review for preseason games? The only one I'm not going to do is the game against the Yokohama Marinos because it's too early for me. But we'll do all the other games. Yeah, we'll do Preston, AC Milan, which is a 12:30 game, so I'll do that. Then we've got the 2 Athletic Bilbao games, do both of those. And then, of course, the first game of the season is a Friday night, which I'm looking forward to as well. Mason said, do you think if we get Guehi, he'll start over Ibu, or will they fight over the position? I think he starts over Ibu, and I think that has to be the plan, because Guehi is going to be the future of that defence. Unless Ibu signs a new deal, he moves down the pecking order for me. I can't see it any other way other than plan for life without Ibu, and bring in Marc Guehi and let him play. And by the way, again, I do expect the transfer window to really explode from the 1st of July onwards when the PSR cycle starts again. And I think clubs will start to really make their moves. So keep an eye out over the next week. I think you're going to see the transfer window really kick into gear. I know we've already had a brilliant start to it, but I think it's going to kick on even more. Any news on Ekitike? The only real newish thing today was Arsenal's name coming into the mix from Bild in Germany. Said Hugo Ekitike is now being seriously considered as part of Arsenal's transfer plans. I don't know if that's true or if it's a bit of brinksmanship trying to get the Šeško price down. Whitehammer, how are we, dude? Said the Konate thing is really annoying me. I can't even be happy about Guehi because I feel he's just a replacement for Konate, just not as good. Van Dijk, Konate, Guehi, Gomez would be class as centre-back players. I think he'd be better than Konate over the course of a season. I think he'd be more steady. But I also totally agree with your last statement. In a dream world, I'd love for Konate to extend, Guehi to come in, and as you said, have Konate, Virgil, Marc Guehi, and Joe Gomez. What a collection of centre-backs that would be, mate. Wow. That would be fantastic. So, yeah, I get it. I don't feel dissimilar to the situation the way you're feeling about it. It's feels like, again, we're close to it being almost perfect. But I got to say this as well. If we sold Konate this summer and we went into next season with Van Dijk, Guehi, Hato and Gomez, I feel kind of happy about that as well. Is Sesko still a possibility for Liverpool? Truth is, I don't know. I hope so, because I like him. But yeah, I really don't know. Michael, good night to you, bro. The good Kev as well. Good night to you, bro. Right, let's have a look at our poll before we start to wind it down. So we need about 80 more votes to get to 1,500. So if you haven't voted, please do. The question was, what happens with Diaz this summer? He stays and signs a new deal. He stays with no new deal, sold to Saudi or sold elsewhere. Robert Simmons, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Really appreciate your support. And don't forget, we'll have that new podcast coming up before the season starts as well. Myself, Chris Stonage and Steve Bland going to be doing a once-a-week podcast that will be video format and will be out on YouTube, will be out on Spotify. And we're keeping it to once a week to make sure that we can properly commit to it over the course of a season. And the plan will probably be to make sure members get it a little bit earlier. So we'll probably put it out to members a couple of hours before it goes live elsewhere. Anything else to need to check in on? All right. About 50 votes to go. Come on, keep voting if you haven't done. What do we think happens with Konate? Because it's kind of close as well. So far, the answer that's winning is the answer that I would have voted. Rajan, excuse me, said, yes, Craig, smashing it. Appreciate you. I think this season we should sell quite a few players and replace them with top signings. We clearly have the money to back slot. It's about time FSG splash the cash. I agree. And I think that is the plan. No treading water signings. Only signings that are going to push us forward. Unless, of course, our hand is forced on a potential thing like the Konate situation. Saunders said, I can see us spend another 200 million. Nunez, Diaz, Chiesa, Harvey, Morton, Chimikas, Jota, Dope, by Cetic could all leave. Oh, there's definitely going to be a severe or a serious amount of money recouped this summer. Definitely. That's why I'm not pinning my colours to the mast on the transfer window or my happiness with the owners just yet. So far, so good. But if we do sell a load of players, I want us to push on even more. And to be fair, we've had a great start to the window. So let's wait and see how it ends up. Right, we've got the 1,500 votes, so thank you to everybody on that one. Dean Tucker, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, Dean. So, the answer is, what happens to Diaz this summer? The top voted for answer was sold to Saudi, 38%, stays with no new deal, 30%, stays and signs a new deal, 22%, and sold elsewhere, 8%. Right, I'm going to go record the late night update video where we're going to be talking a bit more about the Saudi interest in Darwin and in Diaz. If you haven't, make sure that you signed up to our WhatsApp community. Scan that QR code on the screen or use the link pinned to the top of the chat. Completely free to do, of course, and we'll keep you updated with interesting polls as well as helping shape the future of the channel. Right, ladies and gents, appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And again, thank you for your support. We'll